Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Talkin Kop, and welcome back, Matt. You have come out away from the desert only to be met with Liverpool back in their most wonderful, glorious form, losing at Bournemouth to a 95th and a half minute winner. Very contentious. We will go through it all, but it ended up being 3-2, unfortunately not in our favor. Look, Matt, there's really no sugarcoating it, but let's just start with welcome back. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. This might have been a solo show and I might have just cried live on air for an hour. So thank you so much for coming on and joining us and just coming back to the channel. So welcome back.
Well, I mean, if I'd have known the alternative was you just crying on YouTube for a half hour, 45 minutes, I'm now regretting my decision to come back. But
Thank you so much.
I'm much happier that we did a random show on Patreon last night as my first show back in a while. So that was a lot more fun than this has the prospects of being. Because, yeah, that was real bad.
Yeah. So Matt and I were chit-chatting during the show, and I kind of have gone down the route of like dark humor at this point for this match because I don't know if I have it in me to continue to just scream and yell and be angry or mad, because honestly, there are so many things that went wrong in this match. And look, we'll start from the beginning like we always do with our lineups. So lineups came out. No Ibu for obvious reasons. Obviously, he is taking care of a personal matter. His father has passed away. Back four was as expected. You had Kirkes, you had Virgil, you had Gomez, and you had Frimpong over there. You had McAllister and Gravenberch a little bit deeper. You had Verts. We had Gakpo up front. We had Mo Salah up front, and I'm missing someone. Who am I missing? Szoboszlai. So I think the big surprise really was Ekitike being rested today. Anything else kind of stand out to you?
No, I mean the lack of Ekitike, when with the exception of maybe Szoboszlai, he's been, I'd say pretty unquestionably our best player, even though he's not been fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. I'm never one to jump on the you have to have a player to hate bandwagon, which currently is directed at Cody Gakpo, but it's a pretty lifeless performance from him again. Up top, just providing absolutely no threat or cutting edge, it seems like, whatsoever. So I can't really understand why Hugo Ekitike isn't able to start that match, and then you bring Cody Gakpo on afterwards. But yeah, it was very disappointing. Also from an FPL point of view, because there's Hugo Ekitike just getting a few useless minutes at the end of the game and giving me, I'm sure, 1 point. So yeah, that's a bummer. But I mean, what else is there to do? Like the larder is pretty empty, and we can't be blaming injuries on it too much. It's just everybody's out of form, and despite all the good feelings from the summer's transfer business, it feels like we've ended up with a squad that is deathly thin.
Yeah. Sorry, this made me laugh from Thor. Matt is back. Wait, are Canada and USA relations not as bad as the European papers say? At least on the Talkin Kop, they are amicable. I cannot speak for the rest of the world. We are not a politically oriented channel. But yeah, no, it's good for Matt to be back, but it's not good to be watching the Reds right now. We do have a few long-term injuries here. We have, it sounds like Slot came out pre-match and said that Isak is 4 months away from being back. That kind of kills a little bit of hope and ambition for a lot of people to see him back in March, let alone April. So he's not coming back anytime soon. Leone's not coming back anytime soon. Bradley's not coming back anytime soon. And we can add to that list Joe Gomez. Look, let's just go straight into the match, because right off of the bat, you had a good look in with Mo Salah across the box. He passed, the pass was from Verts, and there was a shot. It just went high and wide. It was shades of old Mo Salah, drifting in off of that corner. Very kind of Chelsea-esque from years ago. But unfortunately, Mo Salah not able to convert that opportunity. But that was the first kind of inkling that, you know, maybe we would be a little bit more attacking today. After that, there were a few kind of back and forths. There was a Jimenez cross that was blocked by Kirkus that looked really good right around 8 minutes. But look, I just spent most of the first maybe 15 minutes or so looking at our formation. This was quite similar to the Marseille formation. It was 4-2-2-2. But let's just talk about that for a little bit. Let's talk about what you thought of the formation after Marseille, because we haven't talked to you a little bit. Do you think that it's a positive change in the right direction, having, you know, watched the Reds for a little while, not been on here? Do you think that that's moving in the right direction, or do you think we've taken a step back today with this formation?
It has to be seen as a step back because, I mean, Kev was pointing out in our little group chat during the game that we lacked any amount of width whatsoever, and it's relying so much on Frimpong especially to provide not just the width but also the pace in the team. Like, there's a troubling lack of just raw pace in our team, with the exception of Jeremy Frimpong. I mean, Frimpong is lightning fast, as we all know, but by having the midfield set up so narrowly and wanting to get Verts in the middle where he's going to be seeing a lot of the ball, but not having the overlapping coming from it. Like, very rarely did you see Milos Kerkez get beyond his fullback to be able to put that overlapping ball in. Mo Salah is, oh man, it's a rough fall from Mo. I mean, coming off of perhaps his best ever season for us to, yeah, I mean, perfectly timed comment from Brian O'Halloran. Sad to see, but Salah's fallen off a cliff. It's everything now. He's gone from a superstar to an average PL winger. I don't even know if you'd call him average with some of the performances he's been putting in. We expect a lot from him. Maybe not now because we've got half a season to go off of. And, you know, Mo coming back from AFCON has never, ever been good. But there has to be some rhyme or reason behind it. We're not even playing, like, if you're going to line up in a 4-2-2-2 and presumably try to overload the middle of the park, where are the intricate, you know, triangular plays? You know, where's the tiki-taka stuff, which is what Arne Slot is supposed to be an acolyte of, that Pep Guardiola school of high possession football, short passing, moving teams around with passing as opposed to just with raw pace and stretching the pitch with width and with length. There's none of that coming from it. So I don't understand, and maybe it's just a gap in the quality of the opposition between, what the fuck are you eating, dog? I might have to go deal with
That's
this.
Okay, you just let me know.
Perhaps it just shows the gap in the quality of the opposition between Bournemouth and Marseille, and you know, that's a credit to the level that the Premier League is at, because I mean, Bournemouth have been absolutely torn apart from last season. When you look at the players that they've lost in the transfer market, you know, 3 out of their 4 starting back 4, their absolute talisman in Antoine Semenyo. They had the better part of a starting 11 sitting up, you know, in the booth with injuries. How do we? I'm okay. Yeah, I'm not okay. I can get losing. You can lose any football match, but to look that far off the pace when on paper it should all be in our favor. You know, on paper we've got the better players. They're decimated with injuries, you know. It's just, it's gotta land in the lap of Arne Slot. It just has to.
Is it Arne Slot alone, or because we haven't talked about this? Is it Arne Slot alone, or is it the wider hierarchy as well, like Hughes and co?
Well, it's just the simple fact that we've got such a thin bench after such a massive outlay on players, and you know, you can't factor in that you're going to spend that amount of money on Alexander Isak and then he's going to somehow fail to be match fit ever and then suffer a massive injury. But the questions need to be asked. I mean, Richard Hughes, for all of the acclaim that we were giving him a few short months ago, and how happy we all were with everything that was happening, you know, from the hierarchy coming down, coming off the back of a championship winning season, to go from being so positive to everything being so negative, that I don't think that anybody should be safe from criticism. And that probably has to include Michael Edwards as well. And that's a question that then comes, that's a Boston-based question, not a Liverpool-based question, is because Michael Edwards is so high up that hierarchy of whatever his title is, director of football operations or something like that, for the entire FSG umbrella, is now that's a question for, Tom Werner and John W. Henry to actually sit and go, was it the right decision to bring this guy back and to give him so much power and let him bring a friend of his and Richard Hughes in and to sanction the spend of this much money? Because you're looking at it now, and not just in the summer, we look like we desperately need to be dipping into the ye olde war chest right now before this January window ends, because the loss of Joe Gomez has now left us with 2 senior center halves. And
one of them is out
yeah,
on personal leave.
I mean, presumably Ibu will be back. He might not be back midweek for the Champions League game, but presumably for next weekend and going forward, permitting that nothing extra horrible has happened in his personal life with his family. Presumably he'll be coming back in for that, but it's just not good enough, because we all know, like Joe Gomez today, I mean, it's a freak injury, but Joe Gomez has the tendency of picking up freak injuries. Ibu Konate also has a tendency of picking up injuries, and we just cannot possibly, we're going to end up doing it now because I'm saying this, we cannot possibly go forward with just having Virgil van Dijk and Ibu Konate as our senior center halves.
Well, there was the additional news that broke yesterday, Matt, that we didn't talk about on our random show because it was no football allowed. But the additional news that came out yesterday is that of the now remaining, 5 senior defensive players on our team, that we are considering selling one of the 5. And that would be Andy Robertson to Spurs. And that looks like it's pretty advanced right now. Looks about 3 to 5 billion pounds over to Spurs. Again, I don't know if that changes plans, but if we're down to 4 senior defensive players in our entire team, I can no longer come on here and play devil's advocate. I have tried. I have come on here and I've tried to make a case. I've tried to say, yesterday I tried to say, Robertson's a servant of the club and maybe they're just trying to do him a solid on all of these things. I can understand part of the thinking, but at this point in time, we have reached the point of no return. This is the point where several seasons ago, where Matip got injured right during that Klopp season, and we brought in what's his name, Kabak and Ben Davies. Like that is the point that we are at right now, though, because unlike that season, we don't have, actually we do have Reece Williams technically, but we don't have a Nat Phillips. I didn't want to misspeak there, but we don't have a Nat Phillips, so there's no Cruyff turns that are going to save us at the San Siro. But we'd be selling our center back cover in Robertson as well. You saw Endo step in there for some of the first minutes that he's had, in about 4 to 5 months now. I can no longer make a case for not dipping into the market. I just cannot. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's pulling forth a young player. I don't know if they've obviously let Mark Wahey come and go. He's no longer an option, but something has to be on the table right now, surely.
Yeah, you said, we must dip into the market. It is way beyond needing to just dip in the market is to add the 3 under 21 center halves that we added to kind of fill out our, as you call them, baseball parlance, our farm team, building out the depth, because we don't really seem to have any promising center halves coming through the pipeline, from the under 14s or whatever it's going to be. But poor Amara Nalo is just, he ain't going to do it. So, to me, that's dipping into the market, is just doing something kind of cutesy like that. And it's not that. You need to be fucking cannonballing off of the 10-meter high board right now into the transfer market. And I know a lot of the FSG skeptics in here, but I mean, it's kind of hard to envision FSG doing that. And that's scary because who was it here that said, Gucci'd Up said, we also only have one striker. You know, and
Yeah.
we don't have any at the moment effective wingers either. And you look at the business that was done in terms of Antoine Semenyo and Mark Gahey going to Manchester City, and like, holy fuck, I'd really like a little taste of that right now. Like, you know, wouldn't that feel nice if we had added, you know, one of the more on form striking attacking players in the league and an extremely solid defensive minded player in a Mark Gahey type into our team? We'd still be going, geez, there's still more work we could do in the transfer market this January to get that done, but at least we've got those two. We don't have those two. You know, they went for the reasons that they went for. We have to do something. But at the end of the day, and there's a few people in here saying it has to come down to Arne Slot, because he's that conduit in between. You have the upper hierarchy and you have the squad, and then it all hinges on Arne Slot in the middle. And it's sport. It's always going to be the coach. It's always going to be the manager that ends up getting the bullet. It's very rare that you're going to find a situation where, like after Borussia Dortmund let Jurgen Klopp go, that you come out with the CEO of the club saying, we should have gotten rid of the entire squad of players to keep the manager. I don't think that's the situation here. That is a very rare situation for a club to be in. We cannot ship that many players in order to keep this manager. And I think the writing on the wall is getting to be in a lot more permanent marker as opposed to chalk or pencil that can be easily erased when it comes to Arne Slot's time at Liverpool Football Club. And the hierarchy needs to be looking to help whoever that next manager is going to be coming in. And it's we need to be doing multiple things at the same time. And that's not even to, I don't want to steal any of our thunder and fury from our Patreon rants and award show coming up afterwards. But the fucking players on this team really need to step up, especially some of the senior players, because I mean, we're going to have to get on to the goals. And scene of the crime, Mr. Reliable, the captain of this team, a player that we all absolutely love, a legend of this club. What the fuck is Virgil van Dijk doing?
So it's funny. Last week, Virgil van Dijk came out post-match, and he talked about, you know, the mental frailty of the team. He talked about making stupid mistakes, and he basically used the words of, we've talked about this before, but we're going to have to talk about it again. And I honestly feel like he needs to have one of those moments where he's like goes into the bathroom, stares in the mirror, and has that conversation with himself. Because today it was 100% on him. So if he's not listening to his own message, it doesn't feel like he's listening to his own message when you look at him on the actual pitch. So let's just, you know, the fuck with all of the positive possession, because honestly, it's a bunch of just sterile dominance is what I'm going to call it, because that it really doesn't do anything. So yes, we have lots of the ball, but we try to tiptoe it around and make these perfect goals. There were so many moments where Mo Salah could shoot, Wirtz could shoot, and they went for these really stupid, like thread the eye of the needle passes when they had a clear shot on goal. So I am not going to give any credence to their sterile dominance. So at 26 minutes, Virgil van Dijk, there's a long ball. Look, the long ball is going out. Virgil van Dijk doesn't need to touch this ball, but he decides he's want to try to take a touch. And even Nielsen is probably their most dangerous attacker on the pitch. We know that he's a fox in the box. He's their most lethal finisher. He's right on Virgil van Dijk's heels. And instead of either ushering the ball out of play or taking an actual touch because he's a, you know, specimen of a human being, he decides to do neither. And the ball just kind of flaps down at the bottom of his feet, and even Nielsen's there. He pounces, he puts the ball in the back of the net. It's a goal, and it's yet another new and inventive way that we have found to gift a goal to the other team. I think we are running out of silver platters because every single time it's a brand new one. I've never seen a team so creatively inclined to give gifts to other teams, Matt. This was yet another new one for me. I was just flabbergasted when I saw this.
Yeah, the Virgil's quote unquote defending of Alex Scott there, it just smacked to me of like, oh, don't give away a corner. Don't give away a corner. If he's going to hook that ball blindly into the middle, it's going to be cleaned up by somebody else. Maybe Gomez will come across and lamp it out for a throw in on the far side, or Allison will come and collect it. It was, I think it was Houston there using the proper accented E, saying it was very blasé from Virgil. I mean, very good use of keyboard shortcuts there used to get the proper accent in there. But it was just, that's just a rose ed job. Just smash the ball out. We've actually not been completely garbage at defending from corners in the last 5 games since we shit canned the old special teams coach.
Oh, Aaron Briggs, yes.
Yeah. Well, once we got rid of, we've actually been defending corners quite well, and yet that's what it looked like to me. And then there's one of the replay angles that you can see. I think it's coming from about the corner flag where the ball should have been set after Virgil kicked it out for a corner. That when Scott's hooking the ball back in, the distance between where Virgil van Dijk is and where Joe Gomez is, he's 20, 30 yards across the box or something. Like, he's way too far away. So now we've got this massive space in between our center halves where that ball's getting played back in. And Joe Gomez, I don't know if it's his fault or not. He was marking a player, but where's the third man coming in? Where's Ryan Gravenberch back to fill in that gap? Where's Alexis McAllister dropping back in to clear that ball out of our box? But instead, we've got this gigantic area of space in behind Virgil, in front of Allison, to the side of Joe Gomez, and I don't know where our defensive midfield is in this situation. It's just poor, but it doesn't need to be an issue if Virgil van Dijk just shepherds the ball out of play. Don't let Alex Scott dink the ball back into the, danger zone. Just get the ball out of play, reset, and that's the sort of behavior that you not just expect, I think you need to demand it from your captain. I think you need to demand that from your captain of going, it's completely fine if I put this ball out for a corner, because by the time they set and they bring their defenders up to attack that corner, I'll be able to get my guys back in line, put everybody where they're supposed to be, and we defend, we reset, and we go. And it's chicken shit. It's chicken shit defending, and it leads to not only them scoring, but the most inevitable thing that's going to happen, and that's Joe Gomez getting hurt.
Yeah. So we have Joe Gomez, unfortunately, kind of sandwiched right with Ali. And for a moment, I really thought it was just one of those unfortunate injuries that happens where you get hit in a certain area. And I really thought maybe that was what was going on. But no. Joe Gomez goes off, and look, the whole kind of scenario that happened following Joe Gomez's injury was just a shit show. Was just an absolute fucking shit show. So, look, Joe Gomez eventually limps off to the side. And it takes about 4 minutes for them to decide, okay, yes, Endo's going to come on. So there's 4 minutes there where nothing really is happening. We are playing a man down. And then Endo's finally on the sidelines, waiting to come on. Arne Slot and his entire team is screaming at every person on a Liverpool, in a Liverpool shirt, to kick the ball out of play so that Endo can come on, because we are currently a man down. Endo can't just come on his own. The ball has to go out of play. And we had the ball several times, but nobody kicks the ball out. And so 7 minutes elapse, Matt, where we are playing a man down through our own fault. Not through Bournemouth's fault, not through the referee's fault, but because of our own stupidity, because we're not kicking the ball out of play.
Or just fouling them. Just
it doesn't matter.
Foul somebody.
Just stop the fucking game.
Yes.
Anything you want. Pick the ball up if you'd like. That is also an option. It doesn't matter. But during that time, we have Hill passing to Jimenez. Kirkes is wrong-sided. And Jimenez, who was just giving Kirkes a torrid time that entire first half, just breezes past him and scores his first professional goal. It was a very close offside. Look, it looked offside to me when I was looking at it, but Virgil van Dijk is dropping because he's covering because there's no other center back at that point in time, and he plays him on. Now, I've seen the lines. It looks like it's basically like the patch on the arm for both players is what they drew from, and very similar to the Florian Wirtz goal, this feels like it just kind of fell just slightly on the wrong side for us. So maybe that tolerance came into play. I'm not sure, but look, it was onside. We have to trust that technology. And again, Virgil van Dijk, scene of the crime. I don't know how much of that you want to put blame on him for. Honestly, I think this is just a collective brain fart of the team for not getting Endo on this pitch. And I don't know. I mean,
I think the second goal, I think it's the problem stems from being down that player and the team seemingly not knowing how to react to that. Like I don't recall who had filled in at center half when Gomez was off.
It should have been Gravenberch, but I didn't really see him there.
Exactly. It should have been Gravenberch, but I don't remember seeing for that goal Gravenberch, being near enough the scene of the crime, playing as that auxiliary fill-in center half. It's almost like we went down to 10 men because Joe Gomez got hurt, and everybody just kind of carried on. We didn't readjust the team on the pitch. And again, to me, that falls at the feet of your captain.
Yeah.
The
match awareness
leader. The experienced leader. Yeah, and it's definitely not Joe Gomez's fault whatsoever. I mean, to get absolutely smashed by your own goalkeeper, that's a freak of bad luck for Joe Gomez, and that's unfortunate for him. All that being said, Virgil van Dijk needs to be the player that just tells somebody, just foul him. Just foul him. Give away a free kick 25 yards away from the goal. Like, if Milos Kerkez just pulls Jimenez down, takes a yellow card, he's probably going to take one anyways. It's Milos Kerkez. Just take that yellow card. Have that stop and play. We can make the substitution and get Endo on, and we can get this. It's the same thing I was saying about the first goal. Get that break and play. Get everybody reorganized. Get a full fucking complement of players back on the pitch. And just
novel concept.
And just do the basic things. And this one, because I thought at the time when it happened, when you first hear of it's been 7 minutes since it seemed quite obvious that Joe Gomez wasn't going to be able to continue until Endo makes the substitution. I just presumed it was because Sipka Hulshoff went to Arne Slot and went, we're going to have to bring Endo on. And Arne Slot was like, I don't know who you're talking about. And he had to show him a picture. And he's like, this guy plays for us. He wears number 3. And he's like, nope, never seen him before. I thought that was the issue.
Go find him in the basement.
Yeah, when you see Endo standing on the sidelines, jumping around, getting himself warm and ready to come onto the pitch, that no longer is a coaching issue. That is the players on the pitch. And there is more than enough blame to go around for everybody. But for this second goal, it's coming down to the players on the pitch. Somebody out there that is experienced at playing football, and they're all professionals, so they're all plenty experienced, needs to know we're down a man. We need a stoppage and play to get a player substituted on. Make a foul if you have to. That's a professional foul. Act like professionals. And it was the opposite of that. It was rank amateurism, and they score. And now it's 2-0, and the game plan, you can say, 1-0 down, keep going with what we're doing. It doesn't change our game plan. 2-0 down, and it's like, fuck. Well, no, we got to change the game plan now because we're 2-0 down from 2 just stupid passages of play, effectively, like you said, gifting them goals.
Yeah. I mean, we're what, 32 minutes into the game there. We're 2-0 down. We have one true center back on the pitch. I'm glad that we're talking about the fault of the players, though, because at some point, Slot can only do so much. He can set the team up, and whether or not you agree this was the correct setup against Bournemouth, we can discuss that. But at some point, the blame then has to fall on these players because he's not making those stupid mistakes. He's not asking them to be a fucking nincompoop in the box. I couldn't
I love
the
that
right
you
word.
went with
That
fucking
was
and then nincompoop.
that's the first thing that came into my head. I'm sorry, my brain is gone. But Seriously, he's not telling the captain to be that. And, at some point, like, it is up to the senior players to kind of pull their bootstraps up and just act like fucking grown-ups. And I'm struggling with all of these errors because when Slot comes out, he acts like it's some sort of, curse or some sort of bad luck or some sort of, flip of a coin. But at the end of the day, it's happening too often for it to just be luck. It's happening too often for it to just be fate. This comes down to just a complete lack of solidity at a really base level where, yes, something can go wrong, but we are able to be flexible. We are able to take on that slight inconvenience. We don't have any sort of, I don't know, like bounce back from adversity. We don't have the ability to absorb any adversity. And I don't know if that's something that you can coach. I don't know if that just comes from the fact that we have so many players that just aren't defensively minded on that pitch. You talk about who's dropping and covering there. Like Gravenberch is kind of defensively minded, but not truly. And you're talking about the rest of the players just sort of outside of Virgil. No one there screams defensively minded. No one is thinking like, what's the worst case scenario that could happen? I'm going to make sure that I'm there to cover. No one is going like back on the line just to make sure that if something goes past whoever, they're going to be there to cover. And this idea that, I think some people are mistakenly calling it cockiness. I don't know if that's what it is. I just genuinely think that there's not enough firefighters in our team. There's not enough people that are thinking worst case scenario. There's a lot of people thinking forward.
Yeah. I think the word Brian O'Halloran has it there too that you were possibly looking for was resilience.
No, resilience. That's a good, yeah.
That's what it is. And it's such a sea change from how we played for years under Jurgen Klopp. That the team had an abundance of resilience. And that starts from defending from the back. And like, I completely agree with you. Like, I think Milos Kerkez is starting to show what we were expecting from him when we brought him in. I think Frimpong is also the same. I don't really think either of the fullbacks. I mean, I know Jimenez skips around Kerkez far too easily in the lead up to the second goal, but I don't think either of the fullbacks are massively culpable for those first two goals going in. It's the center halves, and Ibu Konate, he's gotten slightly better. Or at least he's gotten some of the ricks out of his game. And then now Virgil van Dijk has rather tailed off to it. But it's quite telling, like you mentioned Ryan Gravenberch there, the comments he made at the start of the season about how last year he was almost being forced to play in a more defensive role. And this year he was being, freed up to go forward more. You can tell that's what he wants to do. That's his natural game. He wants to get forward. McAllister, forward. Szoboszlai wants to get forward. Wirtz obviously wants to get forward. Curtis Jones obviously wants to get forward. This goes back to, and it's two things being true at the same time. This is a failure of recruitment on behalf of FSG and Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, Arne Slot, to not go and get that type of player when quite clearly we've wanted one for a while. Aurelien Tchouameni, Moises Caicedo, Martin Zubamendi, very defensive-minded midfielders. That type of player that they're more concerned about keeping a clean sheet than they are about contributing to a goal going forward. That's a failure there. But at the same time, again, Alexis McAllister is a World Cup winner. Dominic Szoboszlai is the captain of his country. Ryan Gravenberch showed last season that he can be a top-end defensive-minded midfielder, and none of them seem to want to do it. And I don't know where that attitude change came in. What happened in between last season and this season where it's got to be what they're hearing from the manager on the training ground of there has to be some change in how he's communicating the tactics that he wants to see from his players that gives them this idea that defending's not really that important. That we can just I can't even say this is going to turn into a rant. I can't even say they're all just flying forward because they're not even doing that. Like, you could understand it if we were giving up goals at the back because we're flying 6, 7, 8 players forward with reckless abandon to try to score a goal, but we're definitely not doing that. The we've lost the cutting edge and we've lost the stable base for what? Because we're not dominating the middle third of the park either. Like, it's mind-boggling. It's truly baffling.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. There's a lot that just baffles me about this entire thing. Let's talk about a little bit of positivity here, because there are people in the chat that accuse us of being a little bit too negative. Sometimes on days like this, it is very difficult to come on and be positive in the heat of the moment, but we'll try. So let's talk about the beautiful moment that was Szoboszlai's goal. Actually, no, before that, because I've just lost my notes altogether. Let's talk about the beautiful moment that was the corner that we scored. So that was on 45 minutes. See, we have scored so few corners that I almost completely wiped it out of my memory.
You just thought you just imagined it and it didn't.
I really did. Happen. I had a moment there where I was like, oh my God. But no, okay, that really happened. On 45 minutes, there was a corner from Szoboszlai. And there was a Virgil van Dijk glancing header's shoulder shot. I think it hit off his shoulder in the end. But look, it goes in. He stoops his head. There's a tiny little bit of a flick. It goes into the far corner, and there's a goal. Like, it's so rare that we score a corner that I don't even know what to say. I think that is like 2 goals from around 119 corners so far this season.
I think roughly. It was over. I think we ticked over the 120 Premier League corners without scoring mark just before we scored.
Okay.
So
all right. So right around 121.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 120. So, hopefully we can get like 121 corners in our next Premier League game, because then we might score another goal from it.
Awesome. I like those odds. I really like those odds. But look, I mean, there's something to be said. So we did let go of Briggs a couple weeks ago. Up until this point, we hadn't really conceded on any sort of a set piece. That record also went today, along with our glorious 13 unbeaten record, which really wasn't a record at all. But to get a goal, I'm going to give credit to the new kid. So I think his name is Lewis Mahoney. He's not actually new, and I just want to clarify this so that people don't know. He's been here all along. So Lewis Mahoney was always Aaron Briggs' second. He was an analyst they brought in at the beginning of the season from Southampton. He worked at Southampton also as an analyst. He's never had a full-time set-piece coaching job, but he is a specialist in them. He was promoted this week to full-time set-piece coach. And there were some changes that we saw today in set pieces. So there were a lot of set pieces that were going long, far post, which is a big change because 4% of our corners were going there prior. And I think we probably doubled that today. And then the corners that were coming in from the other side from Szoboszlai were going right on the top of the keeper's head. So there were some adjustments, and you saw it pay off here. So yes, actually a goal from a corner. Shocking.
Yeah, I'm glad that you remembered his name, because I remember they mentioned it during the broadcast and was like, I don't know if it's a good thing that we have a set piece coach who shares the name of the main character from the Police Academy movies. That's troubling to me. That's troubling to me, because we don't have a high tower there, or that's the only other character from Police Academy I can remember. That's what. But that was a great sign of like, all right, there we go. Like, maybe this is the change that we needed. Maybe Mahoney is the guy to lead this slapstick crew attacking from corners, because we get plenty of corners. We do get plenty of corners.
We got double digits today.
Yeah, I was very happy for you, because I know that you're in the vanguard of those who are just screaming at how poor we are from corners, and it was enough for me. I'm still just, I don't know, stupidly positive about it. I predicted a 5-2 win before the game. They scored their 2 goals. I'm like, great. I needed those 2 goals from them to make my 5-2 come good. Then we scored a goal, and it was like, all right, here we go. The goal just before halftime, changes the halftime team talk, all the cliches that happen. We're going to go in. We're going to have the wind, the wind in our sails coming out in the second half. And
no. I just want to throw up a couple super chats that we've got. Thank you so much, Alex. He first throws in, Slot has no authority. They do not fear him at all.
Couldn't
And
agree
then
more.
he dovetails that with a very damning fact. 5 wins in the Premier League since September, and he's still employed. Look, there again, there's no sugarcoating anything today. There are some draws in there that make these things look better. If you took, I love the analogy of, if you were an alien and you just took our European record into account, you had no idea that the Premier League existed, you'd think, wow, they're like a pretty decent side. They're okay. It's like, a Jekyll and Hyde situation. It's like watching two completely different teams. And although I understand that there is a gap in quality sometimes between leagues, I don't think that necessarily covers everything here. This feels like just the mentality is different in that competition versus this competition. And I can't quite put my finger on it. But like I said, there's really no sugarcoating it. And again, like we talk about Bournemouth as if they're the Bournemouth of old. I mean, they were missing Brooks, Adams, Doak, Kluivert, Tavernier. Semenyo was off, obviously, because he had moved. I mean, their most potent attacking force was gone. They had won 1 game in their last 13. They are not, although they do score a lot of goals, they are not a threatening force. And we allowed them to be a threatening force, Matt.
Yeah. I think how much they were up for it and how meek we were, I think a lot of that has to go down to the difference between the two managers. Andoni Iraola, since he came in at Bournemouth, has been this incredible, I wouldn't say breath of fresh air, but he's been so good for them. And he clearly sends his players out with a very well thought out plan of how they're going to attack whoever it is that they're playing against. But he also clearly has the ability to instill confidence in those players to get that extra 5% out of them, to get that extra 10% out of them, to make players like James Hill feel like I don't need to worry about Cody Gakpo or Mo Salah or Alexis McAllister. The fact that these guys all have Premier League winners medals and there's World Cup winner in there and there's all these captains and all this experience and all these records these guys have, that means nothing. And they came out like that. They didn't play like underdogs. They didn't play in a low block and get a scrappy win. They clearly came out and said, we can get into a fucking punching match with these guys and we can take their best punch and we can knock them out with ours. And they did. And it's got to come down to the manager. I mean, you guys have been doing shows about this for a couple months while I've not been here. And I've just been having to listen and be like,
I'm sorry.
Well, no. It's allowed me to not say things that I would then regret having said a month later, sort of thing. It's because I would have been on shows defending Arne Slot, saying no, he's a Premier League winning manager. You have to give him time. There's lots of new players coming into the team and blah 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 blah. 5 wins since September in the Premier League is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And the team above him needs to be, they must be. They absolutely must be. I refuse to believe that they are that head in the sand, ignorant, naive, to not be already halfway, 3/4 of the way down the line with getting the next manager in. And it needs to happen sooner rather than later, because I think somebody put up there our next 3 games are Newcastle at home, City away, Sunderland away, or Sunderland at home. I think it's definitely Newcastle, City, Sunderland are our next 3 Premier League games. We get through those next 3 games with 2 points, a point, no point, 3 points, 4 points. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. We need to be getting at least 6 points out of those.
We could drop down that table like a stone right now.
Exactly.
We could absolutely drop down the table like a stone. I mean, there's a chance for United to leapfrog us, and I believe Brentford to leapfrog us tomorrow. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you look, we're what, 2 points ahead of Fulham? Fulham.
Yeah. So we've got Newcastle, Man City, Sunderland, Brighton, Forest. That's our run. And we all know how much Slot hates Forest.
I mean, are you confident in winning any of those games? I mean, obviously at the moment, clearly.
I mean, no. Like right now, no.
Yeah.
With no center backs besides Virgil, no. Like, I mean, I'm looking here. There's Andrew Beasley is tweeting out here, and he's talking about how, there's late winners going everywhere. There's late winners, whether it's at Bournemouth, there's equalizers happening at Leeds, there's things happening at Fulham and Chelsea. Ultimately, all those things tell me is that teams are pushing and pushing and pushing until the very end of games. And ultimately that comes down to fitness and squad depth. And if you look at the points that we have dropped, the points at Palace, at Chelsea, at Manchester United, at Fulham, at
Leeds.
Today, at Leeds, all of these late winners to me scream fitness issues and not having enough depth to carry it over the line. A lot of the time we had points on the board, and yes, we had some players to bring on, and I'm not discounting. I thought Rio looked really bright today. There were things that were positive, but we do not currently have a squad that is fit enough or deep enough to deal with the full. I mean, it's more like 100 minutes that we're talking about with all of this extra time. And I don't think that you can call that coincidence. I think that all you're seeing right now is a body of evidence to further reinforce the fact that we need more depth. So this is not a season that you can run with a thin squad. This is not a season where you can absorb 2, 3, 4 seniors, like starters. You can't. This is not a season where you can afford to have a Chiesa, have a Endo, have a Rio that are playing less than 300 minutes each. It's just not. And I think all you're seeing right now is just the evidence of that happening. Alex is back here with another super chat. Thank you so much, Alex, for your generosity.
I hope Alex is a Patreon member already.
I hope so.
Because this last one would pay for a month.
Yeah. So, Alex, I don't recognize your name. So if you are new here, consider joining our Patreon, because some of this money would absolutely help pay for that. Although we are hugely, hugely grateful. He says, I was with the coach till January 1st, where he showed that he hasn't turned a corner. He just relied on individual brilliance. Newcastle next, then City. He makes a fair point, Matt. There's a lot of chat about individual brilliance. There's a lot of chat about, if you're going to break down a team, specifically a low block, which we didn't face today, that you need moments of brilliance. You need set pieces. We just can't seem to score a normal goal, Matt.
Well, I mean, it's nice that we have somebody that's dangerous from a dead ball. That is something that all great teams need, and we're now currently just aspiring to be an okay team. So it's really nice to have Dominic Szoboszlai, who looks like he can score pretty much any free kick that's relatively middle-ish of the pitch, anywhere 30 yards in the end. That's fantastic. I mean, the goal against, I'm pretty sure it was against Marseille. I was out in a tractor watching the game. So yeah, where he shoots it underneath the wall. Today, Mo rolls it backwards for him, and chalk another assist up to Mo Salah, because at this point now he's just kind of putting a few final flourishes on his statistical record for Liverpool, it seems like. But having that player there, I mean, easily our player of the season. He's been the shining light, usually the only shining light in far too many games, and that's indicative of where we are in the table and the fact that we've won 5 games since September in the league. That's excellent. That's excellent to have. You need to have both of those things. You need to be able to score from set pieces, and you need to be able to score from open play. And you really need to be able to score from set pieces when it looks like you have no idea how you're ever going to score from open play. Because I don't know if it was Kev or Chris or you that said it in our little chat during the game, but it was, with like 10 minutes to go, and it's like, I don't see where we're going to score.
Yeah, that was me.
That's very, very damning. And just quick double back, you mentioned like how we're so susceptible to dropping points late on due to fitness. Fitness is a very apt word, because it's not just the physical fitness, it's the mental fitness.
Absolutely.
It's that resiliency thing. It's this team completely lacks the steel. The backbone has completely fallen out of this team. No idea why or where or how, but that is just the reality of it. So, but again, I'm still blissfully ignorant enough to believe that my team is going to win every single game in all sports. In all sports. It's not just a Liverpool thing. I feel this way about all the teams that I support with my heart. It's the 2-2, and I'm like, the 5-2 is still on. Here we go, baby. We're going to do great. And then the time ticks away, and the time ticks away, and the time ticks away. And it's like, all right, let's just get one. You know, I'm fine. I'm fine with a 3-2 win. I don't need a 5-2 win, but let's just get the win. And at the end of it, Ashley, there was only ever one team that was going to win that game.
Oh yeah. I mean, so the goal from Szoboszlai was right at around 78 minutes. And it was Rio that won that. So again, credit to him, because I do think he made things happen. He looked more lively than Gakpo. You know, and you had Salah and Szoboszlai basically executing a perfect free kick. We've actually seen that from Mo Salah before, doing that little kind of drag. And yes, you're absolutely right. We are incredibly lucky to have someone that can hit a dead ball in the way that Dominic Szoboszlai can. But that wasn't going to save us. Again, like, how many times can you depend on Dominic Szoboszlai to save you? Because honestly, it feels like, I don't know how. It would actually be fascinating to go back to those 5 wins since September and just see how many times Dominic Szoboszlai was part of getting that over the line, because I imagine that he played a role in it, quite a big role. Look, at the end of the game, they were like, their central defenders were absolutely blowing, and we did nothing to test it. They had a couple of players come on, and you know, Ryan Christie came on, looked bright, but they were the ones that were taking the game to us. They were the ones. They had one moment where there was about a 15 pass play that, if it had ended in a goal, it would have been their goal of the season. And they just passed right through our midfield, right through everything. And my biggest problem with this, Matt, is that this is not new. So Slot has this identity that he likes control for the first 60 to 75 minutes of a game, to the point where you almost lose your mind because it's so mind-numbingly dull. And we don't capitalize on those periods of dominance. We don't actually take shots there. We try our very, very best to make the perfect scenario to score a goal, but very rarely do we actually take shots. There was maybe one shot, I think, on that entire first half, and that was the one that was scored. So by the time we get to 75 minutes, when we have one of our starting back 4 still on the pitch, because we have subbed the rest of them off, we have multiple central midfielders in our defensive line. By the time that we have taken off, you know, some of our most creative players, you're ending up with such a mishmash, and that's the moment where you're trying to score. So instead of scoring when you have the strategy, when you have the passing patterns, when you have the support of the players around you, we're trying to score in this helter-skelter last 15 minutes of games, and we do it time and time and time again. Where, for me, all I keep thinking is, what the fuck is the point of controlling the first 60 to 75 minutes if you're going to throw away the control anyways? So at the end of the game, you basically throw away the control. You decide you're going to run around like headless chickens, and you basically just leave it up to fate about who can kind of, you know, run faster at that point, honestly. They were passing through our midfield like fucking Swiss cheese. There was nothing there. There was nothing to stop them. The idea of defensive solidity out the fucking window. There was nothing there. And at the same time, you mentioned rightfully so, there was nothing at the pointy end of the pitch either. We weren't peppering their goalkeeper with shots at all. The number of times, I think I sent in a text where I was like, the point of this entire sports endeavor is to shoot at the fucking rectangle. Like, put the ball toward the fucking rectangle. Anything else is just a waste of time, to be completely honest. And the fact that we were spending so little time actually shooting on target, there's no fucking wonder that we're constantly up against the wall, that we're constantly down a goal, that we're constantly holding on for dear fucking life. And I know that, you know, you have very famous individuals in our history like Ian Graham talking about how when you take a shot on target, that counts as a defensive or as a turnover of possession. But ultimately, we have to risk that sometimes. We can't play no risk football because then you don't score and you lose. So
we're not even like you're talking about, Slot wanting to control the game and dominate the game for this first 60 or 70 minutes. But we didn't do it. Like,
no,
you're not down 2-1 in a game that you're dominating, and like the passive umbrella style play where the players get within shooting distance of the goal and they get a nosebleed, it seems like, where they're like, what the hell am I doing here? And they stop and turn around.
Go back.
They keep it and cycle it. That's fine if you can keep the ball, but we're not keeping the ball. Like, I understand the general theme behind what Arne Slot's basic ethos of his footballing is, which is if we have the ball, they can't score.
Mm.
And that makes perfect sense.
They can because we will give them the ball. That's the problem.
And that's the issue. If you have 100% possession of the ball, if the other team never gets the ball ever, they cannot score unless you score an own goal. We're trying to dominate the ball. Our possession stats are fantastic for all the good that does us, which is none. We fail to make simple passes. We fail to have players in the positions that they need to be into, where if the ball gets turned over, we're not susceptible for the simplest of counterattacks, where we turn the ball over because of poor individual play, which is not on the manager. There's far too many times, not so much today. Today wasn't one of those days where you're like, can we not make a 5-yard pass? But if you've been watching this team in the last 5-6 months, you know what I'm talking about, where you just make the pass. He's right there. You don't have to put yourself under pressure because you can't complete a 5-yard pass to one of your teammates when you're not under a massive amount of pressure. And if you can do that, and we saw this last season, we saw this in the title-winning season under Jurgen Klopp, where you get ahead, you get the ball, you keep the ball, you don't turn it over. If they're going to get the ball, it's going to be a goal kick because the ball's gone over the end line when you were trying to attack. And by the time they take that goal kick and get their players upfield, you're back into your shape, you're defensive, you're solid. Instead, we're slowly walking forward, we're passing the ball around, and then the ball gets turned over in the most haphazard and casual manner.
Oh, hi, Chris.
And then we're in trouble. Oh.
This is unexpected. Hello. You're just in time for us to talk about the last-minute winner from Bournemouth.
Oh, sorry, the internet's breaking up.
Fantastic.
I've literally just got in.
You missed the corner talk. I'm sorry, you don't get to talk about that. We were just talking about Liverpool just being absolutely garbage. About game management, but look, we're here. We're at the end of the game. Do you want to talk about this? Because before we do, I'm going to throw in this fun stat here, which is Liverpool are now averaging 1.57 points per game in the Premier League this season. And since 3 points per win began in 1981 to 1982, no side has ever finished in the top 4 of England's top flight league with 1.57 or lower per point or points per game. So at the current rate that we are going, kiss top 4 goodbye is basically the moral of that story. Yeah, as Jono says, you did turn up a little bit late.
Well, I've been out with the family, so I said I won't be able to do the show because I'm out with family. But I've literally seen the game, had food to the family, come home and I thought I best jump on this because it's an awful thing.
Well,
so
Chris, you're here. You're late. You didn't go through the grit and the grind with Matt and I, so you get the last moment of the game because we're about to go onto Patreon in a few minutes. So
yeah, that's fine.
93 minutes. There's a long throw on the left side of the pitch. Now, we defend this long throw really, really well. And the ball goes out to the other side of the pitch. When that ball goes out, I'm going to tell you right now that the clock read 94 minutes and 2 seconds. So when that ball goes out, not even when he's over there throwing the ball in, when the ball goes out, it's already passed. And the rule
come on, Ashley. They're always gonna let.
I'm not blaming it. I'm just painting a picture here. But they decide to go. Let him dry off the ball. Get all ready. Get all set. Throw the ball in. And look, Chris, we have another absolute fucking catastrophe in front of our net where I honestly, I don't even know who in that little clusterfuck that happened in front of Ali who actually touched the ball, but nobody actually kicked the ball out. And Allison tries to get a hand on it, doesn't get a hand on it. It eventually falls down, and the ball goes in the back of the net. I think it's Amin Adli. I think that's who it is that eventually puts the ball in the back of the net. And look, it's a last minute winner. And it honestly feels like just such an incredibly crushing blow, Chris. I don't know what you felt like at that point in time. I don't know if you were away with the family. I don't know if you saw it, but
I think, no, we saw it. I think the exact phrase was me and my dad going, "Oh, fuck off." But then being with dad, both looked at each other and then kind of shrugged and went, "Okay." And we both looked at each other and went, "Bournemouth deserved that." He said they looked the better side attacking. They kept going for it. I mean, fuck, the bit that baffled me was the camera pans to Slot and he's shouting to the defenders, "It's going long." I'm not being funny, lads. You're professional footballers.
Really?
Honestly, I help coach, an under 13s team. I don't have to tell them when a long throw is coming in. They're quite clever enough to work it out for themselves. I'd like to think guys on 200 grand a week can work out it's a fucking long throw. And I actually think it's going right on Virgil's head. And I think it's Jones gets in the way. Probably, and I think it was panic stations. I think that's generally what it was. They looked panic. And, well, Liverpool do you know what? Liverpool got what they deserved in the game. They didn't do anything they did midweek. They weren't tight. I know it's a different level. I think Bournemouth are actually a better side than Marseille. But Liverpool weren't tight. They weren't solid. They can't get the subs right. And look, Hugo Ekitike tries to get it off the line. But if I'm honest, I just looked at it and went, it was a powder puff shit goal. And I went, I've seen that about 4 times this season. I think I've worked out. I think it came up. I think we dropped 7 or 8 points now from draws or winning positions past 90. That to me is a mentality. That's not a fitness thing. That's a mentality. Because that is literally last kick of the game switch on. And they're all 97, 95, 94. They're all late in the game. It is just literally proper panic. And I generally don't know where the club goes from here. I took a lot of crap after the last game saying I'm deliberately over negative. I'm saying this to get clicks. I'm saying this to get attention. Look, I'm like you guys in the chat. It hurts seeing Liverpool this crap. And I'm looking going, yes, he's a title-winning manager. Yes, he deserves credit in the bank. If he wasn't a title-winning manager, I don't think he'd be the manager now. But I'm at the point going, I actually don't know now where we go, because some will say sack the manager. Okay, just say hypothetically that happens. I'm now looking at going, but if you sack the manager, he's still left where he's only got 3 full-backs, 1 fit centre-back, 4 mid.
How's Alonso going to play 3 at the back?
4 senior midfielders and 1 number 9, and he's got 2 wingers that are out of form, and the backups are an injury-prone Chiesa and a child, who, by the way, was probably the best player on the pitch, was the 17-year-old, which is pretty fucking damning. That the one who showed the most impetus was a 17-year-old. I mean, but again, that comes back to. I mean, actually, I thought Endo did okay, but again, he's a centre mid playing out of position. We finished the game with your first choice midfielder at right back, your 5th choice midfielder at centre back, your first choice centre back, and your backup left back. That's the back 4 we finished with. It's fucking mental. And then we have an actual right back on the bench that he won't use. Whether he's good enough doesn't matter, but it's just like, and as Real Talk puts, Kenny got sacked with a similar record.
What actual right back do we have on the bench? Are you talking about Ramsey?
He is a right back.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Rather than putting your best midfielder at right back. I guarantee if that was other Liverpool managers, they'd have just done on the kid and just said to the adults in the team, protect the kid, do your job. And unfortunately for me, the biggest damning person today was the captain. The captain was atrocious today. I think he's at the scene of the crime for all 3 goals. And if his name was Ibu Kanate, honestly, that's all we'd see in the chat. But Virgil has been not great at times this season. Today he was diabolical. he was involved in all 4 goals. I think he should get 4 assists. A hat trick of assists and a goal, which sounds impressive when you realise until 3 of them for them. So yeah, all in all, it was a shit show. We kind of got what we deserved, and I just feel like it's Groundhog Day since September. I feel like that's all we've said. Poor Matt's coming back to his first show and he's served up this.
Yeah,
it's not like I've not been watching us play. Like it's.
You didn't take a vacation?
I bet you wish you hadn't.
No. I think regardless of all of the good TV and movies that I've watched in the last couple of months, the funniest thing that I've seen in a year was Harrison Reed scoring that goal against Liverpool. Like, I honestly put myself in minor health danger from how hard that made me laugh.
The Harrison Reed thing, which is a shot in a million. How many times today did we just go to Christie and Scott? Lads, have a pop at the top of the box. Like they're queued up. Went, have a go. Honestly, if they could hit it a bit better, they probably would have got 3 or 4. I mean, literally, we got it to 2-2, and we nearly conceded from the first attack. It's just like,
yeah, you shudder to think that if that was a full strength Bournemouth, if they were going to let Semenyo go, but didn't sanction it until the final day of the window, sort of thing, and they still had Antoine Semenyo, and they had Kluivert, and they had Tavernier in that team, like, we could have got the shit kicked out of us.
We're missing 3, and we're acting like the world's ended because that's how thin our squad is. They're missing 8. 8. They've got 1 win in 13, and honestly, you think it was the other way around? Bournemouth. By the way, Areola has never got a point against Liverpool before. Never got a point. In fact,
He's welcome.
I think Bournemouth already got 2.
We rolled out the red carpet for him, I think is what we did today.
Bournemouth had 2 wins against Liverpool in the Premier League. 2. You know what I mean? It's just like...
Look, like this...
It is what it is.
This goes beyond the manager. This goes beyond, Richard Hughes. This is a collective issue. Today is largely on the players for me. I do think that there's issues with setup and things like that, but I don't know. Ultimately, at some point, this team needs to just be able to kind of knit together and say, absolutely not. We're not going to let this happen. And every single time that you think that maybe you turn a corner, it's like it is Groundhog Day. It's false dawn after false dawn after false dawn after false dawn, and you wonder, at what point enough is enough. I genuinely don't know. Yes, I think that Virgil van Dijk is absolutely culpable today. But I also think, Slot is culpable for weakening an already weak back line by starting to play people out of position. And then
Richard Hughes and
it
that culpable because
it does
left
go
them
upwards.
so short. It's a collective of shitness. Let's be fair.
It is a collective of shitness. And unfortunately right now there's not really like a shining light. There's nothing. I think a lot of people right now are looking for something to sort of cling on to. Whether it's a new signing, whether it's a result, whether it's a style of play, whether, it really could be anything at this point. But honestly, I can't find that thing. I've
got one shining light.
Go ahead.
We don't have to worry about this now until Wednesday.
Yeah, that's not good enough for me.
So we're
literally going to go do another show.
Yeah, we're literally doing a show in 2 minutes. Like,
hey, join Patreon for that exclusive.
Or not, if you're just going to kind of like pop your head in here and then pop out. But
no, I'll be on the Patreon. Don't worry.
Okay, so let me just talk about the Patreon real quick. Unfortunately, Chris, I'm gonna cover your face, I think, with this QR code, and I apologize. I'm gonna. Okay, there we go. I got it right this time. I got it right. I'm figuring it out. So, look, you guys know that these shows have gotten a little bit long when I'm in charge, and that is completely my fault. And therefore, we are splitting our shows in half. So we are still keeping our post-match show on YouTube so that all of our free subscribers get the same content that we know and love. But we are taking all of our rage from this season and we are making an entirely new show out of it, bottling it up and putting it into 60 minutes over on Patreon. So if you're interested, we are going to absolutely barbecue this squad over on Patreon next. And the link is right over there. So click that link. It's about the cost of a super chat. And it gives you basically double the amount of shows from the Talkin Kop. So you get all of the same content you know and love here, double it over there, add some video content, add our ref watch show, our retro shows, all of the things. We even had a fantastic random show last night, Matt. If you want to
I think you're underselling it, Ashley. I think
I?
you need to lead the Patreon push with how good your ref watch show is that you do with Gav.
Oh, it's the best.
It's honestly,
it's the best show around.
It is unbelievably high quality. The amount of work that you do and that you make Gav do to put that show on is incredible. And like, even if you just want to check it out for a month, go back into the archive on Patreon, like buy a 1-month subscription to Patreon, go back and just watch the ref watch shows and tell me that that's not worth the price of membership, because it's only because of YouTube's restrictive copyright laws that we can't put that out on YouTube. It is such a good show, and you do such a good job with putting that all together. Like, it's so good. Like,
thanks.
Very, very, very well done. It's really a brilliant show.
Appreciate that, guys. I really do. There is a lot of hard work that goes into it. And Gav, oh God, Gav, just bless him. I send him so many clips, and he does all of this sort of grunt work putting it all together. So I am incredibly grateful for him, for all of the hard work that he does as well. And look, we'll talk about more. There's more incidents today. There were more incidents. So there is a ref watch every single week, and this week will be no different. But guys, I think we should probably save a little bit of rage for this show. Maybe take like 5 minutes to just go and take a deep breath and like.
I'm gonna go take a deep breath. I'm gonna go work myself into a lather.
Okay, do that too.
Yeah. I think the whole point of this show is to get angry.
Build it up. I'm gonna get some more cans. Matt's gonna go punch a wall somewhere. Chris has not really had his say on what's going on, so he has all of this rage just like built up. It's pent up inside of him. We're just gonna let him loose. So come over to Patreon with us in about 5 minutes, and we will be there. We will be back. We'll give man of the match if we can pick one. Honorable mention, could do better. We'll go through all of the slot quotes because there's some that are coming out, and it's gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a thing. And Ozcopite, you said I'm late. I just saw the highlights. What the fuck is going on at LFC? As Ozcopite, come join us. We'll go through it. We'll touch base. We'll give you a roundup, and it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be cathartic, I think is the word I'm going to use. It'll be a cathartic experience, and we will see you guys all over there in a few minutes. So, anything else that you want to say on YouTube before we head out here? Matt, let's go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just hit the thumbs up button. Helps share the show around. If you are a newer member of the Talkin Kop community, some of us have been here for a long time. Some of us have been here for a really long time. Just help share it and get it out, because YouTube has a personal vendetta against Gav and the channel as a whole. So if you could just hit the thumbs up button, maybe another Liverpool fan will come along and join us, because I think you can agree that we all have some fun here, even when we are terrible.
We do try our best. Chris, anything before we go?
I'll save it all for Patreon.
Okay, save it. Okay, let's like leave it on a cliffhanger. All right, I think that's it for us. Like Matt said, if you want, you can like and subscribe. You can turn on notifications. It's also super duper helpful if you guys leave us a comment after the show. So maybe just tell us why Liverpool are shit, because everyone seems to be on the same page there. And we'll pick out our best answer. But otherwise, I'm going to head out. We are going to take 5 minutes. We are going to be back on Patreon. So head over there, and we're all going to go punch a wall for a little bit. So I'm going to end the stream. You guys, I will see you in a few minutes. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Bye-bye. And thank you, everyone in the chat. It is, as always, a pleasure.
Is it?
I'm so glad the real Liverpool are back.